So since my bearded dragon was put into quarantine sort of conditions for certain videos, I have now updated and have made a few modifications. It's funny because as a species in the wild, they would have access to microclimates where the humidity is well over 80%. It's strange that we give leopard geckos a humid hide and not bearded dragons. So in this sort of in-between period, where I'm not in this new enclosure that I'm going to build, but I don't really want to do too much to this vivarium because I'm going to tear it apart anyway, I'm experimenting now. So I made a hide that the container that is the humid hide could slide into, and I also topped that with a sheet of slate just to protect that wood a little bit in case she defecated on there, and the slate I could just wipe clean and disinfect. So let's just give her her food. It's funny because when I first got this dragon, she was one of those dragons addicted to live food and would not touch any sort of vegetation whatsoever. But after constant work with this animal, I've now got her to the point where she is desperate to get veg into her. She'll come running at the first sight of that bowl. And I never put any live food in that bowl, it's always vegetation. Now this channel does have some quite complicated videos that are quite scientific, and I have a video in the works that is really quite difficult and it's going to take me quite some time to complete. So in that meantime, I just want to take this time here to make a really relaxed video and show you what I've been doing. I've also incorporated some climbing ledges, which I haven't quite often seen her use yet, but for the most part I can get her to work and climb and get those organs moving by encouraging up there by tongue feeding. And if they're there and only used during that time, then so be it. I'm trying to encourage movement and use of those muscles, and I think it's really important that even if she doesn't even use it, I have that option there to get her moving. When I put in some highly movement-centric species, like bluebottles or wax moth, she'll be climbing and running around trying to get them. And I really want her to get her organs moving, her body pumping, her muscles moving. I want the bearded dragon to be a bearded dragon. After all, they are semi-arboreal in the wild, so that is what I'm trying to encourage here. I've incorporated 2 basking bulbs into the basking spot there. So I've upgraded, made the basking site bigger so that the lizard as a whole can be warmed in its entirety. I just want to give a little update on my Mexican black kingsnake here. I have reinvigorated this enclosure by adding fresh substrate, fresh topsoil, mixing around this enclosure and taking her cork bark hides and burying them in places so that the custodians do have those humid microclimates to retreat to, as well as her. And that extra level of depth allows the snake to dig. And there's quite a few burrows in there now. The custodians in there are giant orange isopods, springtails, mealworms, I think there's earwigs in there too, and there's a few other bits and bobs. Look how beautiful the snake is. It's just another reason to give snakes UV. They look better. Look at the iridescence on that. Wow. I would like to know what particular information people might be seeking, and if there is anything people would like me to make. Like I said, I've got a project going on at the moment, which is probably the biggest video that I've ever made. It is definitely the most time-consuming project of this channel so far. But if there's anything specific that people want to see, let me know. I want to make a video on gut loading and snake prey variety. I mean, how many of us are feeding frog's legs? Or how well known is the issue of that we should be providing variety in our snake's diets? And that California kingsnake that I have with the kink in its back is doing really well actually. Since I've taken it on, it's been shedding perfectly every time. This snake has actually just shed, and it has shed perfectly. I was worried about that little kink causing some shedding issues, but that hasn't been the case. I have been putting Arcadia shed support on its frozen thawed food, so I don't know how much of that came into play there. Like I said, not a scientific video this one. I've got a big video coming, and please let me know what else people want to see on the channel.